Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and I am a stroke survivor. And I don't think I will ever get used to saying that. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a few things, about the difference between depression and self-pity. I was just thinking about somebody mentioned self-pity today he said, self-pity is my default character defect. And I thought, you know, I have always called it depression. Because really that's what self-pity feels like to me. So I wanted to break down, like, what is the difference between these? Am I really not depressed? Have I just been feeling sorry for myself all this time? I don't know. So I wanted to talk about that. And what was also something that came up this morning was everybody was sharing about their memories as active alcoholics, just the tornado that ripped through their lives that they were the center of. And as everybody was talking and sharing some of their experiences, all of these terrible memories came up. And I was just thinking, it gets you teetering on the edge of self-pity or regret or shame or guilt. But as I have learned in the program, that I do not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. So I need to be grateful for what happened in my past, because without it, I wouldn't be here today. So I actually expressed my gratitude to everybody for their shares this morning, for reminding me just how terrible my life was before recovery. And then I wanted to also bring it around to, like, what does it take to maintain this spiritual condition, this mindset, in order to navigate all of these emotions, to keep myself away from a drink, keep myself away from thinking that numbing my emotions would be a solution. Keeping myself away from thinking that I just want to turn away from my suffering. I want to turn away from the stuff that doesn't feel good, and just escape, even if only for a little bit. That's the deceiving part of alcohol, is that I can tell myself, I just want to take the edge off. And that just is not possible. It would be one drink and I would end up, who knows where I would end up. But it's not good. I can tell you that. That's a guarantee. So I think it's important for me to reflect on where I've been in order to appreciate where I am right now. And especially when I'm dealing with the chronic pain, that the chronic pain, the physical chronic pain that I deal with now, is nothing compared to the chronic inner pain that I was feeling as an active alcoholic. That is the absolute truth, that I hate to say it, and I can't believe I am saying it, but I would deal with these headaches a million times over, ever suffering as an active alcoholic again. because that pain was much worse on the inside. So one of the things that is discussed a lot in sobriety is this idea of self-pity. And I wanted to look at the difference. Like, depression is a mental health condition that can be deeply debilitating and requires medical treatment, therapy, and long-term care. Often, most likely, lifetime care. That is what I experienced. It is something to imbalance in the chemicals in our bodies. This is great for me to just say this out loud because I was really questioning myself this morning. I was like, maybe I just feel sorry for myself, but no, it's not just what I experience is not just this or just that. I have had people tell me that, oh, you're just fill in the blank. And I'm not just fill in the blank. I need medical intervention for what I feel and what I experience. It is a chemical imbalance, and it is out of my control. Self-pity, on the other hand, is more of an active state of mind where we allow ourselves to dwell in misery, sometimes amplifying the the uncomfortable, the negative thoughts by just fixating on how unfair it feels to have to deal with it. Why does nobody else has to deal with this? Why is it me? So I think that self-pity can be a product of depression, but I feel like you are capable of feeling self-pity without being clinically depressed. So that makes sense to me as I say it out loud. But the two can blend together. When we're depressed, it's natural to fall into self-pity. And if we're stuck in self-pity and we don't get help, talk to somebody about it, it can certainly spiral into depression. In my experience, self-pity was a way to justify my drinking. And it was a way to say, look at all of these terrible things that happen in my life. I deserve to escape. I need to escape. I drink because of all of this stuff that's happening to me. And really, a lot of that stuff was happening because I drank. What I didn't realize at the time was every time I drank, I was just digging myself deeper into that hole. So how do we combat it? The key for me, obviously, was taking away the alcohol. But once that is done and you've got a clear mind and a clear vision of where you want to be, what you want life to be like. I was talking about imagination not too long ago. Once you can envision that blueprint of what you want your life to be like, it takes repetition and consistency. And when I had no idea. I had no idea when I got into this AA thing that it was going to be like this. I thought that I go to AA and I go sit in a couple meetings and then I just suffer through the rest of the day and not pick up a drink. I didn't know that the craving would go away. I didn't understand that the steps were going to help that craving go away. I didn't know why I had the craving. Like, I didn't understand anything that was happening. But what people told me was to keep coming back. And I didn't even understand what that meant. Keep coming back. But it literally just means just keep coming back. Just keep driving yourself there to the meetings. If you need a ride, which often many people in the beginning of sobriety don't have their driver's license. So if you need a ride, there's so many people that are willing to give rides, but literally just keep walking in the door. Because simply being exposed to people sharing and the literature, it starts to teach you what the program is about. You really don't have to do anything but listen. Every time the it comes around to you, if you don't want to share, you don't want to say anything, you just say pass. Not, you don't have to say a word. I mean, I would encourage you to talk to people, but you don't have to. You can sit in the back of the room and just listen as long as you just keep coming back. And that repetition in itself of walking in the door, consistently walking in the door, begins to touch your spirituality. And then as you work the steps and as you progress and you start understanding what you're hearing and how it applies to you, and you're able to hear people tell stories and you're like, oh, I totally feel that way too. Like that is exactly how I feel. Then you realize, well, you're not alone. And then you start seeing other people. Well, what do? They keep coming back, they keep doing these things. Like people keep talking about prayer. Well, I'm not a prayer person, like that's what I was thinking. Because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to even pretend to act like I wanted to have a relationship with God or my own concept of a higher power. I was too embarrassed to even do that. I didn't want to talk about it. So I just kept listening. But more and more, it starts feeling like it's not so embarrassing because you hear people, well, I prayed and I didn't know what I was doing, but I just did it anyway. I just acted as if I just pretended like I was praying to somebody. And I just kept doing it until not one day, but until over time it became I was praying to my own concept of a higher power. And it gives this sense of not being alone anymore. And again, it's repetition and consistency. And you keep doing that. And then you start having this like, I feel like there's this presence. I feel like I'm not alone. It grows. It just kind of happens. It's really fascinating how it's happened for me. And I'm one of the lucky ones that I just was able to see this need for me to turn off my wanter, meaning don't think about what I want to do. Just do what I'm hearing people say is working and just just do it, because what else am I going to do? If I drink, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose my relationship. My family's already pissed off. I've pissed off everybody. My work, I stopped even showing up to work at the previous job and now this job. So my way was not working. So I'm just going to keep doing what all these people are doing. Attending meetings, meditation. I kept going to that 10 a.m. or not 10 a.m. I kept going to I don't know why I said 10 a.m. I kept going to the 5:30 Friday meditation meeting in the evenings after work. And I sat there and didn't know what I was doing. I was very uncomfortable sitting in the dark with all these strangers, and everybody was just quiet. But over time, I started to feel comfortable. Over time, I started to feel like, these are my strangers. These are my meditation strangers. And in the beginning, I wouldn't close my eyes because I was like, what if somebody's going to get up and attack me? But over time, I start closing my eyes for a little bit, and I start being able to let go of what happened that day. And then I start to be able to think about my breathing, stop thinking about the strangers in the room and that somebody's going to come up behind me. Think about my breathing. And that just happened by repetition and consistency, showing up on Fridays after a long week of work, not because I wanted to, but because I heard that it might help even more. And all of this stuff, these things that I allowed myself to be exposed to, they began to improve what you guys, people in sobriety told me was spirituality, because I didn't know what spirituality was. Today, I feel what spirituality is. I understand what it is as a feeling now. And in order to and it's a really good feeling. It's a better feeling than being drunk. And I'm not BSing you. It's so much better. It's living. It's living deeply. And grandly, like I don't know what other word to use, but that's what spirituality is for me. And in order to maintain it, I just keep doing all of these things. I didn't know, again, when I first walked into the rooms, that I had to keep doing all these things for the rest of my life. If you would have told me that, I mean, you did tell me that. And the first time I heard that, I thought, well, I'm not sticking around here. There is no way I'm going to not drink for the rest of my life. And so I stopped and I went back out and started drinking again, and things got worse. They got worse again. And my daughter said, it's okay to try again. And so I did. I went back to detox, and that time I decided I'm gonna I'm gonna take every single suggestion that I've been given, every single thing. I'm gonna turn off my wanter, and I'm gonna do whatever anybody says is gonna help me stay sober. And I've still been sober since then. I learned that the emptiness that I used to feel, that I thought was me, I thought was a part of who I was, that it was just a symptom of living a life that is disconnected from my true self, from my mind, from my heart, without spirituality. It's living a life without spirituality. And I was disconnected from other people too. And that's what that emptiness was that I was feeling. I remember so many moments. These different moments came to mind this morning when I was listening to other people share. These moments of just extreme loneliness and despair throughout my life. Just, I've talked to you about snapshots. So I have negative snapshots and I have positive snapshots. And the the negative snapshots seem to happen on their own. It's like I have this own camera, and when I'm experiencing something that is like deep despair and loneliness, my mind takes a snapshot of that. It's an unforgettable moment. And I look back on those now and think, thank God I don't have to feel that way anymore. I have positive snapshots. Those seem to be ones that I have to manually click the button of my mental camera to take the snapshot. But some of these thoughts I was thinking of was, I'll share story time. I'll share a couple of them. Some of them I may have shared before. I have to take my sweater off because I'm starting to sweat. So one was, in my neighborhood, we lived beside a lake. I wasn't right on the water, but I was like 3 or 4 houses down from this. It was almost a pond. It wasn't even a lake, but it had a water fountain in it. And I used to have keggers at my house, go figure. And I decided that it was a great idea when we got all hammered that we were going to go swim out to the fountain and back. And I had a few other losers like me who decided they were going to swim out there with me. So I did that once, and I don't know if I ended up passing out in my backyard. I'm not sure what happened there. I feel like I was asleep in my backyard for a little bit. But I remember waking up in the morning and I stunk like goose poop stunk. And that's disgusting. And feeling like I'm gross. And I don't mean gross from the goose poop, gross from the I am nothing. That's how I felt gross. I felt like I am nothing. The night before when I was drinking, I was something. But in the morning, I am nothing. That's what I felt like. And I proceeded to swim out to that um uh fountain. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. I proceeded to swim out to that fountain another at least 5 more times, at least, with several different groups of people. And the very last time, not that night, but over the years that I lived there, I lived in that house for 20 years. And the last time that I ended up swimming out to that fountain, I was at a neighbor's party with, I think, their daughter graduated from, I think, college. And so I decided I was trying to get everybody to go swim out to the fountain. So several people did again. I can usually get some people, some losers, to swim out there with me. And this time I swam out and I was swimming back and realized that I wasn't going to make it back. And the feeling was petrifying that I wasn't going to make it back to the shore. I did make it back, but I didn't feel like I was going to make it back. I actually was truly scared that I was going to drown. Um, and that still just absolutely freaks me out every time it's, there are so many times that I escaped a big problem. Um, Death. I don't know why I don't just say it. Um, lots of times. And so that's one of the memories. There's another memory I have when I was getting ready to go to college, and it was parents weekend, I guess. It was like for freshmen, you could go stay in a dorm, and my mom came and stayed in the dorm. So the mothers were in one dorm together, and the two women, or young freshmen, would sleep in a dorm room together. And I think it was with my roommate. I got to meet my roommate. I'm not quite sure. But before bed, I decided to go out for a walk on campus, not very far away. And I went and sat on this grassy hill that overlooked the um, mm, I can't think of the name. The sport where you have the lacrosse. So there was a women's lacrosse team. I think it was a game that they were playing that were down there. And I heard people yelling. That's an exciting game to watch if you've never watched it. But and I remember feeling this absolute, complete, and utter emptiness and fear and loneliness that I didn't feel like the rest of my life was beginning. I felt like I was leaving behind everything that made me feel comfortable and safe. And I didn't want to. I didn't want anything to change in my life. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people do feel that way. But I hear about a lot of kids that don't feel that way, that are so excited to leave and start their lives. And that's just not how I felt. I felt very scared, but it wasn't self-pity. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I felt depressed. And I was depressed my whole life. I think I was depressed my whole life, and I didn't know it, and why would my parents know it? It just wasn't something that we talked about like that back then. I didn't talk about that stuff. I just felt it. And I just thought that everybody feels that way. And if they don't, then poor me. That's what I get. And that's what I get out of life. I even wrote poetry for from the time I was 15, which is when I think I was a freshman in high school, to when I was about 35. So I wrote poetry, and that paired very well with drinking and smoking. So that's what I would do. And that's those were times that I sat in my room and I just ached in my core. And I don't know what I was searching for, but I didn't believe that I was going to find it ever. Um, it, I, I wanted comfort, but there was nothing that could comfort me. Nothing, nothing. Um, you know, I don't ever want to come across like I had a difficult childhood, because I didn't. I had everything a young girl would want. I had the best mom in the entire world, the best mom in the whole world. I didn't have any sort of abuse going on. I was not neglected, nothing like that. I just had this permanent ache in my core, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I used to think that that feeling of emptiness and desperation, despair, it's so hard to find the right word, was just a part of who I was. But I know now that I didn't have to feel that way. I didn't have to struggle in silence, um, thinking that I was living out some predetermined misery, that was my fate. Um, I was living a life that I didn't understand. I was living a life that I thought was just about me. And it wasn't. It wasn't all about me, but I couldn't see past my own pain and my own confusion to see that there were other people just like me. Um, it was really just the result of not knowing any better, of not understanding that there was another way to live. And if I were to go back in time, I can't think of anything that could have been done differently to make it better back then. I don't know that anyone would have been able to figure it out, that there was something wrong. Um, but it's so important to me to be reminded of how terrible that felt on the inside. It is a powerful motivator for me to keep working my simple program every day, because I don't ever want to feel that way again. And I know 100%, I am sure that as long as I stay consistent, I won't have to live that way again. Life doesn't have to be so painful. Sure, there is a lot of pain in life, that is unavoidable, but I was feeling pain that was being cultivated within myself. And through building this spirituality that I was introduced to in my AA program, I can maintain it now. And I have a way of living now that feels like I've got purpose and I've got a connection to others around me. I'm a human being among human beings now. It's not just me. I felt so alone, but I just couldn't even see that I was connected to the world around me. I felt like I was isolated. And today I feel like I'm not doing anything alone. I feel like every decision I make, everything I do is just a part of this fabric of human beings, and we're all moving together. We're all waving through life together, and it gives me a serenity. But it took a lot of work for me to get here to do that. And I'd love to try to encourage you to take little pieces of what I have been able to experience and see if it might work for you. Are there times that you think about in your life that still just are stuck in your craw, They almost haunt you. Um, do you regret them, or do you see what they did for you? Do you see the opportunity that they provided for you to become who you are today? This feeling of self-pity versus depression, do you identify with either one of those? Because both of them, both of them could require professional help. And I I can't say enough about the importance of reaching out and having some sessions with a professional, even if it's just to get through one thing that you are obsessed about that's bothering you. It's amazing how dialing up and talking to a professional about it is so much different than dialing up my friend and talking to her. These people are educated and go to school for a reason. And um, it fascinates me. My last psychiatrist that I was seeing that I just adore, she was a young woman. And I told you guys, I walked in there feeling, not walked in there, virtually walked in there feeling like, how could she have anything to tell me that I don't already know about myself? I have a podcast after all. Um, and there was just so much great insight that she gave me. I really enjoyed learning from her, learning how to live better. And she gave me some additional tools that I can add to my program, add to my spiritual practice, and continue to change my life for the better. So thank you for listening today on the Recovery Daily podcast. And I've been playing with this venom extractor the whole time during the podcast. I feel like I talked to you about the venom extractor before, but it's mosquito time, and I swear by the venom extractor. And I was out with my dog playing with other dogs, and I got a mosquito bite, and I was like, playtime's over. I got to run inside and do my venom extractor. And they were like, what is that? So I explained to them that it's this thing, and you suction it on, and it sucks the venom out of your mosquito bite. I swear by it. And so I ran home and did it, because you got to do it kind of right away after you get the mosquito bite. And it doesn't itch anymore. Anyway, I let my dogs out and I got another mosquito bite. So I was just doing that right before the episode. So I've been sitting here playing with it. So sorry about that. Anyway, thanks for listening today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.